Welcome to One Person at a Time, a podcast from Christ Church United Methodist. Here at Christ Church, our mission is becoming living proof of God's love, one person at a time. Now, whether you're in a pew on Sunday morning, at one of our Bridge campuses, worshiping here and serving here maybe at 4614 Brownsboro Road, or with one of our ministry partners in the community, every single person lives into this mission differently. So this is a podcast about diving into the individual lives lived out in our community as we attempt to find out exactly how each person listens and responds to God's call. Today, I chatted with Leah Bennett. Leah is a dedicated volunteer, a dedicated church-goer as well. She loves food, and she loves serving food. She's also a volunteer at Open Door Ministries here in Louisville. Among other things, Open Door Ministries provides a lunch during the week, throughout the week, that's free for the community at 4th Avenue United Methodist Church. Leah's been serving with them for a long time and has been coming to Christ Church for a long time as well. And this conversation, guys, was just incredible. I learned so much from Leah in just a short amount of time. We talked about growing up on a farm, what that was like. We talk about how we take our sweet potatoes. We also talk about how she found Christ Church, what volunteering and being outside of the church walls means to her. And of course, we talk about how she listens to and responds to God's call in her life and what exactly that means to her. Leah has an incredible story, so let's tune in together as we hear the story of Christ Church, one person at a time. We're all set and everything's live and good to go.
Okay.
So I'll officially say, welcome Leah Bennett to the One Person at a Time podcast.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here.
I'm glad to be here on a beautiful day.
The sun came out just for us.
Yeah, I know.
It really did.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited to dive into, number one, just who you are. The big part about this podcast is showing case studies almost, or examples of people who I really feel like exemplify answering God's call to do something really meaningful in the life of the church and also just the world. Yeah. And I think you are certainly one of those people.
Well, thank you. I'm not sure that I deserve all those accolades, but I'm a work in progress and have been for years and years and years.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, and it's only in my latter years that I've gotten one of my favorite phrases is bold and courageous.
Oh, I love it.
And I would love for all of us to be more bold and more courageous in the work that we do and in our relationships with other folks, because we'll miss out on so much if we aren't.
Yeah. That reminds me of something that Reverend Julie Love spoke about in her sermon this past Sunday on the July 26th, where she said, who would we love or who would we reach if we weren't afraid?
Right.
And that's huge.
It is huge, because our fears of relationships, our fears of doing something wrong, our fears of what our parents said, you shouldn't do that would hurt someone's feeling. Or
sure.
we build such fears up that we're afraid to step out. And the benefits of stepping out and meeting new people and new situations are phenomenal. Yeah. And I think that's what God designed us to do.
Yeah.
So
I make connections, right? Make a relationship.
Yes.
And I certainly think that's a big part of what you've done with the Open Door Ministries. For folks who aren't aware, Leah Bennett is hugely involved in Open Door Ministries. Will you tell me a little bit about your role there and what you guys do?
Oh, okay.
I know it's a big ask.
Open Door Ministries is an umbrella that has 4 different parts, I guess. But the main one that operates day in and day out is the food service. So it's called a feeding program, where we actually prepare food on site, serve a meal to a group at a fixed time, and then we clean up and go home. as opposed to a food pantry, which usually folks come once a week and get foods to take home, and they prepare it at home. So we are a feeding program.
Yeah.
And Open Door has been around for probably nearly 30 years. It started out, which is interesting. My friend who goes to 4th Avenue United Methodist, where Open Door is housed, said one winter there was a knock on the door at 4th Avenue, and the church secretary answered the door, and it was someone who said, "I'm hungry, do you have anything to eat?" She had brought her sandwich with her that day, so she gave him her sandwich.
Wow.
And it occurred to her then, well, maybe I'll bring 2 sandwiches tomorrow, one for me and one in case someone knocks on the door. And it just kind of rolled from that, and they started out only making sandwiches. And when they became a partner with Dare to Care, where they could get access to a lot more food, they became Open Door and serving hot food.
Got you.
So it's
what a story! What an origin story!
Yeah, it's a great story.
Truly
And
ripples in the pond.
Yeah, 4th Avenue United Methodist is a very small congregation, but the service that they do, the impact that they have, is huge. It's huge, and they're located in an area that needs that impact. Downtown Louisville, at the corner of 4th Avenue and St. Catherine. It's in the second poor. It used to be the poorest zip code in Kentucky.
Yeah, wow.
A couple of years ago, they moved up in the world, and now they're only the second poorest zip code in Kentucky. And so there's a lot of need in that neck of the woods. So
incredible. I mean, thank you for the work that you do and the work that Open Door does. It's really neat to hear how it's developed over the years, from something that's such a small act of service to something that's a huge operation that does so much good.
Yes. We serve hot food. Right now we're serving hot food 4 days a week. Prior to, we have a volunteer dearth. We had to close our doors one day a week and shift our volunteers to be able to provide the food. But we serve hot food 4 days a week now. Our goal is to get back to 5 days a week. We are down there 6 days a week, but food order comes in on one of those days, and we don't actually serve the community. A Presbyterian church on the next corner picks up that day for us. So it's sort of ecumenical.
Yes, I mean, that's all the best things are, I think, representative of the whole of our neighbors and communities working together. Neighbors serving neighbors, right?
We have, I enjoy it. My background is nutrition. And so I've worked in food service and nutrition for all my adult life. And I just love food.
I do too. We could talk for a long time about that, probably.
People say, where do you see God in the world? And I say, I see God in sweet potatoes, you know.
Leah.
Because the color, the durability, it's just, everything is just like a perfect little encapsulation of God's creation. So I see food as more than just something to eat.
Well, I want to ask you way more about your history and sort of how you found your way into this calling in this ministry. But first, I want to ask you, how do you take your sweet potato? What do you put on it?
I'll eat a sweet potato just baked, but I love it with cinnamon sugar.
Yes.
And I used to douse it with butter or margarine or something, but I'm trying to watch that a little bit.
That's fair.
But sweet potatoes are called sweet potatoes for a reason.
That's very true.
They're just wonderful. And when I was gardening, they were my favorite food to grow outside of okra.
They're durable and very dependable.
Yes, and productive.
Indeed. Indeed. Is that how? I don't know. This is my first time sitting down and talking to you, but I could kind of see your spirit resonating with the sweet potato.
Just the colors in food are fantastic. So got into nutrition. That is actually my second degree. My first major was in German, but then I switched to nutrition after I had kids and got involved in different, what do they call it, fads that were going through in the early 70s, late 60s. And my dad, I grew up in a South Georgia small town. My grandfather had a farm nearby. We lived in town, but so I grew up in a farming environment, and my dad grew soybeans. And so when at one point we were going vegetarian because a new book had come out about how good it was, and I was reading that. And so my dad sent me this big old bushel of soybeans, and so we played with soybeans for a while, and that got my interest into going back to school in nutrition. And I became a registered dietitian. I was chief clinical dietitian at Jewish Hospital for close to 20 years, and then moved to VinCor, Kindred Healthcare, as the corporate dietitian. And we had, at one point, 80 hospitals nationwide, so I was over the nutrition and food service.
For all 80?
Well, I set the policies and procedures. And so I would travel, make sure we were survey ready, and we're doing things right. And so I love nutrition. I love that.
I can see that. I really get that from you, that you're invested in the process of feeding people. Right?
Well, a call came out from our choir at I was still at it was then Kindred Healthcare for quantity menu. They wanted to provide a meal on Saturdays at the Open Door once a month. But they wanted quantity recipe, not just make for 6 or 8.
Something that you can produce a good amount of.
A large amount. And I had access to a large menu program. I was working full-time a lot. And so I said, I can get quantity recipes. That's no problem. So I sent a note to the choir contact and came up with a couple of recipes and started coming in and helping them on that one day a month for a couple of months, showing them how to use the can opener and things like that, the big one, and so it was fun, and they prepared the foods for a year, which was their target commitment.
Incredible.
And then after that year was up, they had a different goal, but people would keep calling, and so they would refer the questions to me, and I became sort of a de facto link between the Open Door and Christ Church.
Interesting.
All along with that, Jean Hawkshurst, who had been the associate pastor here for several years, became senior pastor at 4th Avenue, and she kept that sister relationship, I guess, alive, and it was just easy to have Christ Church and 4th Avenue work together for me on a project that I was suited for, I guess. And so over time, I retired, but I still was in contact and actually volunteering, and I became more volunteering and more volunteering, because when you retire, you can do that.
It opens up a little bit.
And the main thing, outside of just loving food, is we have a great time down there. I mean, it's such it's fun. And it's a lot. Sometimes I say jokingly, I wish I weren't having that much fun, but it's fun to be down there with the different folks who come. And for quite a long time, we had a very strong relationship with the Men's Healing Place. And we would have men who would come and help us in the kitchen at 5 days a week. Now they're coming 1 day a week, and that's where we need those more volunteers, just as an aside.
Come volunteer.
Come volunteer. But that relationship, I just felt like God has put me every step of the way with the skills that I need, because I grew up, my father was an alcoholic, and I'm the baby of the family. He chose me to go with him to AA meetings. So all through high school, I would go to AA meetings with my dad. So associating with recovery programs was not a foreign thing for me.
It felt very natural.
Yeah. And I mean, I would go to big meetings and the room was full of people trying to recover. And I imagine you see your dad a little bit in that experience. I mean, he taught me a lot, and this is one of the things I felt like, he taught me, maybe not from a good perspective for him, but I was very comfortable with all of the men from the Men's Healing Place, with all of the programmatic structure. And AA is so higher power, God as we understand Him oriented. I felt like God was there.
Wow.
So having grown up in AA, having an adult career in nutrition, it just seemed like a good thing to do, to be at Open Door, which merged AA and feeding people.
What an incredible crossover.
So it's one of those things that when you look in hindsight, you can see that God is always there. He equips you, whether it's something that you thought was a good thing at the time, it may not have been. Certainly addiction is difficult, but the points in my life that I learned from seem to have just worked, and I come back to it's just fun. God doesn't give you things that are always burdens. We bear burdens, but we also have joy. And for me, Open Door is joyous.
There's so much there that I just want to respond to. And I mean, number one, I think I'm just really thankful to God and to you and to all the people who have just followed this path to a place that is so beneficial for so many people and providing so much good and joy out of things that are maybe broken, out of things that are not so good sometimes. I want to ask you, I think, I'm always just curious, when you were young, when you were a child, or maybe, flashing back to those moments at AA with your dad, was that sort of one of your first encounters with God and spirituality? Or how else did you see spirituality and God in your early life?
I was raised Southern Baptist. I don't need to say anymore. I was in Girls Auxiliary. We did all those Bibles, sword drills where you're told to find a scripture in the Bible, and the first one who finds it steps forward and says, "I have it." I was very competitive. And we had steps, and we memorized a lot of Bible. So God was always part of my life. But I think only as an adult and looking back, can I see that progression? Can I see that all of my young adulthood laid the groundwork? And when I became a Methodist, when I joined the Methodist Church, I really like the social principles of the Methodist Church, the stands, the positions, because they're very biblical. And for me, that is part of my spiritual life. But I will tell folks, I learned more about God in AA than probably the church. I memorized a lot. And I did a lot of fun stuff, as a kid. And we had Sunday school and Bible training and, BTU at night. And so I was in the church a lot. But I learned more about God and how He works in lives. And that was why the relationship through Open Door with the Men's Healing Place was so amazing, because at that point, having learned that I can be bold and courageous and I could engage in basically it's say the word for me.
Evangelism.
There you go. That I realized this is what we are here to build these relationships about God. And here we have folks in AA who are searching so desperately for
Mm-hmm.
God.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever go to bridge meetings,
Yeah,
you just
I've been
see
once
this.
before, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bridge is a whole other
Sure.
part of it's a love of my life kind of thing.
Oh, I'd love to ask you more about that. Yes.
But you can just see that God, it's the field that's ripe for the harvest.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that part of my raison d'etre is to interface with these groups. And I just love them.
Yeah.
I just love them.
Yeah,
So.
I can feel that love. I certainly can.
Yeah.
How did you find Christ Church? We haven't talked as much about that, but how did you get here originally? I love to hear those stories too.
Yeah, that's an interesting story.
Okay.
I think it is.
I'm sure it is.
We moved here from a little town right outside of Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
And so we lived in this little mountain town. We were
Yeah.
renting a house, and my son was a baby. My first child was a baby, and we had one car,
Yeah.
which my husband took to work. And so I would walk wherever I went, and there was a little tiny Baptist church at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
And I said to my husband, there's a little church at the bottom of the hill that I can get to. I think I'm going to start going to that church. So we joined, because I was raised Baptist, we joined this little Southern Baptist church. When we moved to Louisville, we live the street over, right through that window. If the trees weren't there, I could see my house.
Yeah.
So when we moved here, I said to my husband, there's a church right at the end of the road.
Yeah.
It's Methodist, but that's okay. It's a church at the end of the
okay.
road.
Yeah.
You know, and why don't we try going to that church at the end of the road? And so, honestly, that's how I chose Christ Church, because
Wow.
it was near where I lived.
Yeah.
But before I joined, I had a lot of Methodist friends growing up.
Gotcha.
And so I started looking into the creed and the doctrine and everything, the social principles.
Yes.
And I thought, this is where I need to be. This is what I need.
Wow.
So again, I think God just said, okay, you're going to choose a house here, and this church is going to be at the end of the road.
Yeah.
And so I don't mean to make light of how we choose churches,
Certainly
but
not.
my first thought was, there's a church at the end of the road, let's try it first. And
Incredible. And that small decision has led to so much good.
yes, yeah, well, it's led to a lot of opportunities to live a Christ-like life.
Yeah.
I hope.
I certainly think so. How long since, well, you said you kind of visited the church a few times and read a little bit of the social principles and what it was all, Methodism was all about.
Yeah.
And you're like, I think this is for me. Did you decide to join the church at that point, like officially? Do you remember how long it?
I'm not sure. It's probably within the first year that we moved here.
Yeah.
I am a church-goer, so
Sure.
I needed a church. And so when it just seemed to fit and everything, I said, I know I'm going from a different denomination, but, you know, denominations shouldn't really care.
Sure.
And I know the Methodist and Baptist, we pass people back and forth all the time. But it was probably within the first year.
Yeah. You say that you're a church goer, and that's really interesting to me. We're talking so much about how God lives in so many different places, how you said you learned more from AA than you ever learned in church growing up and that sort of thing. How do you feel that, the work of God works within the walls of Christ Church, but also transcends that? I mean, what do you have any thoughts about, how does that work?
For me, coming to church within these walls, that gives me a chance to nourish my soul.
Yeah.
Outside of the walls is what God gives us in order to take that nourishment and share it with others. It's not just within the walls.
Yeah.
I'm in a Covenant Sunday School class. It's a fantastic class.
Yeah.
We have a great love of Bible study, and that fills me up. That helps guide me. It teaches me more of how Christ wants us to live.
Yeah.
And that for me is worship. So church is worship. Praise God, learn about God.
Yeah.
But then you got to get out. You got to
Yeah.
go out, because if we just nourish each other, we're just kind of entertaining within a little pool of people, and that's not what Christ talked about. That's not what our Great Commission is.
Yeah.
It's outside, and so. But that step between inside and outside, that's where in my adult life, my later adult life, I said, we've got to be bold and courageous. We have got to take that step out and realize the gifts that we are given of joy and love and fellowship are so much bigger out there, because the world is so much bigger than just inside the church.
Absolutely. I love everything about that. I thank you for those thoughts. I also, while you were talking, I want to reflect back to something you said earlier too about maybe how you see God in food, something like you see God in sweet potato.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to me that I think, we talk so much about, physical nourishment and spiritual nourishment. And sometimes, gosh, aren't those things kind of one and the same, that providing food and eating food together is a spiritual moment. I mean, it's what we do at the communion table, once a month here. Yeah.
Right. You kind of think back about Maslow's hierarchy, and you've heard this. This is not news. Folks aren't going to hear a more spiritual message if they're hungry or sick or tired or scared of oppression. This is all that Jesus was saying.
Yes.
And so literally, to get someone's attention who's hungry, you got to feed them first.
Right.
That's why cookies always work at a meeting.
Funny.
Cookies are wonderful.
I love cookies. What's your favorite kind of cookie?
Oh, I have no favorite. I love them all to my own downfall.
Sure.
But
it's important to provide that for people, though. To a safe space, for lack of a better term. A safe space for somebody to be and to experience.
And at the Open Door, we are situated downtown. There are 4 or 5 high-rises in that maybe 3 or 4 block radius that fixed income. So we have a lot of clients who are fixed income, who have to make choices over medicine or food, over clothing or food, over furniture or food. And so this helps, and it addresses a need. And so I feel like that we need here in the East End, we're not going to have a real successful soup kitchen right here.
Sure.
Although you never know what your neighbors are going through.
That's a great point, Leah.
If you're not in relationship with them, you just don't know.
Yes.
So I don't want to discount that at all.
100%.
But downtown, clearly we see. But what's fun about the Open Door is that we get a lot of repeat people, and you get to know them. You get to know them. And I work in the dish room right now a lot because we've lost some of our volunteers, so I'm a great dishwasher. Sure. And it's fun to see friends who come, they put their dishes in the window for me to take and wash, and they talk to me. How are you doing? They know me by name. I know them by name. And I may never hang out with them, but I'm hanging out with them right there.
You're in relationship. I mean, I think a large part of being in relationship with someone is being confronted with need. And inevitably that's going to happen.
But they're wonderful people. I just love them. They're so sweet.
Yes. I mean, that's the reality of, even like you mentioned, being friends with your neighbor. Being human, I think, in a large part is being aware of each other's need and being a neighbor. What does that word really mean?
Right.
You think of the Good Samaritan, and who is my neighbor?
Right. And they've got your back. They know you. When I pull in the morning, sometimes there's a couple of ladies in wheelchairs who live in the high rises, and they'll be wheelchairing down the sidewalk, and they'll speak to me, and I'll speak to them. So it is my second neighborhood, honestly.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Bold and courageous. I love that you've brought those two words in today, and I love that you keep referring back to them as a mantra. Why do you think those are so important for people?
For me, I grew up, again, very in depth in the church, just by memorizing scriptures, as I mentioned, going to church. And I would go to Sunday school church, evening training and church. That was in the good old days when they had 2 full sermons, morning and night. And then I would go at least 2 times a week. I was in the choir at church, and so that was in a small town. Your church is your relationship, your recreation, your everything. But I also grew up with some shyness, and I'm not shy now. People, well, I am.
What?
But and proper Southern attitude. Now, don't hurt their feelings. Don't impose on other people. Don't
Certainly.
be.
And I think in many cases that in those sort of communities, need is often. It can be shameful for folks sometimes, so it's very hidden in many ways.
Yes. Yeah. But and that lived with me all through my early adulthood, and so when my kids left for college and I became an empty nester, it's like this I don't have anything to focus on, and I'm too constrained to start investigating, and so one has to ask oneself the question, why am I constrained? And it was either a learned or self-imposed sort of, don't be in a position. Don't be in position. My first grandson, when he was 13, gave me we went to Gatlinburg together for hiking, the whole families. He bought me a baseball hat. I still wear it today. It's got frog on it, fully rely on God. And on the bill it's got I heart Jesus, and on the back strap, I heart Jesus. And I thought, I can never wear that hat. I mean, that's too in your face, right? It's just too, I don't know what. But my grandson gave it to me. He saw something that attracted him to that hat for me. And so I sat, you got to keep the hat because your grandson gave it to you. And I'd look at it and I'd say, why do I not want to wear that hat? And of course, the story of Joshua, be bold and courageous. At one point, several of us were between Patty and Leanne, several of us were doing talks at the bridge. And I loved Joshua. And it was running in my mind, and I just decided one day, I'm going to be bold and courageous. I put that hat on. I went down to 4th Avenue that day, and from then on, I've worn the hat. I've washed it. A number of times, but I've worn that hat, and it's almost a trademark now. But that hat triggered me to say, why am I not bold and courageous for Christ? You can have Christ in your heart, but until you really get out and share Christ, others may not ever see that. So that hat for me, and it teaches me fully rely on God. So
that's an incredible story. I think as much as I'll say this personally, it really affects me to hear that story from someone who has gone through so much life, and after becoming an empty nester even decided, what are my biases? What are my constraints? What am I holding in myself that I didn't know I was? That's an incredible lesson, I think, that anybody can hear, no matter what age, too.
I think, that may not be, I can't say scriptural necessarily, but we are put on this earth for a purpose. And if that purpose is not being fulfilled because we are not learning how to grow, and that, for me, that lifelong learning, whether an educator or whatever, that lifelong learning, it is actually scriptural, I would think. And so it has to invade all of the areas of our lives. Our emotional, our intellectual, our spiritual, our mental, everything. And if we don't ask questions, then we're never going to grow. And the other thing is, I used to be really scared to pray in public. And I'm not sure that my prayers are all that great, but I made a decision. And a lot of this is another story, but we need to make decisions for God, not just say, my life is going to morph in these pathways. It's like, where do I need to be? I'm going to make a decision to move there. So I made a decision that I needed to not be afraid to pray in public. And I figured, okay, if somebody says, Leah, will you pray? I'm going to say yes. And I figure it's kind of like Paul. He's going to give me the words. And if he doesn't give me the words, oh, well, somebody's going to hear them anyway. And, we think that our words have to mean so much to everybody. But as a member of the Bridge, I recognize that if your words mean something to one person, that was the purpose.
It was worth it.
That was why you said those maybe awkward, maybe silly, maybe unmeaningful to the whole rest of the group, but that one person heard that. That's God speaking through you. So if you ask me to pray, I'll pray. It may
That's
not
good to
be,
know. I'll call you anytime.
It may not be, what other people would call a refined prayer, because there's some beautiful prayers in the Bible. There's some beautiful prayers in the Old Testament and New Testament, and I could never hope to equal them. But I can allow God to speak His voice through me, and hope that there's one person that hears that, just the way God intended. So
it takes an incredible amount of trust, and I've talked to everyone who's sat down so far to do this podcast. I've asked them, and I think you've sort of answered in your own way, what does it look like to respond to God's call? Because when I was growing up, I always heard that phrase, and I was like, are you hearing a voice in your, how do you do that though? What's the physical and, decision about what do I do? And I think that's incredible for many people to hear of what you just said, that sometimes God is trusting us to make a decision and to trust that it will come together in God's own way. Just thank you for sharing that.
I learned actually through my husband, who joined the church later in life. His experience was very different from mine as what they call a cradle Christian.
Sure.
His experience was very different. But he said to me at that time, he said, I made a decision that I would have faith in Jesus. Jesus is my brother. I love him. And he goes back to that. I made a decision. And that impacted me greatly, because it's really, when you're growing up, you keep thinking God's Spirit's going to pull, and we don't have any part in it. No, we have a major part in it. Absolutely. Because we can say yes or we can say no.
Absolutely.
And if we say yes, what happens when we say yes? We're scared. We feel like we might fail. We feel like that we will look silly. We feel like that we're not going to be a help. We're going to be a hindrance. And that's human worry. When you say yes, what you're saying yes to is stepping out and letting God make sure that what He sent you out to do, you will accomplish. God never sends out something that doesn't come back for good. And so the fact of saying yes, it doesn't matter about anything else. Are you going to blame God? I don't think I'm going to blame God. He's all omnipotent. He knows what He's doing. He's the victor. I'm just going to let Him work. But if I say no, how will I ever know? So
That's incredible.
And
Thank you, Leah.
I can do some pretty silly things sometimes, but that's
me
okay.
too. Me too. It's 1,000 little decisions,
Yeah.
and there will always be moments of uncertainty. I think, but I think you're a great example of someone who I hope it seems like shows up every day and says, what positive decisions can I make towards God's call? How can I serve and
you just let everything else go, because that's not the relevant part in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, if just one person. I love that story. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
If people want to become involved with Open Door, how should they do that?
Probably the simplest thing is to send me a text or give me a phone call. Leave a voicemail, because if I don't recognize your phone number, I will not answer it.
Sure.
It's just one of those modern day things.
That's great.
But leave a voicemail and I'll get back with you and try to match your interests. And and by the way, you don't have to know how to cook. You don't have to have any particular skills. You just have to really, honestly, you just want to have fun and serve. We can make that happen. My motto at Open Door is, you can never do anything wrong in this kitchen. And we've had some examples of and it's really kind of fun to figure out everything. But let me know and we can plug you in. And if that's your cup of tea, great. Yeah. If it's not, you haven't lost anything,
Yes.
And we have really good food.
Yeah. You'll never know unless you say yes, right?
Right.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Leah, for sitting down today with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. And I guess that's that.
It.
Have a great rest of your day.
Right.
And thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for listening to One Person at a Time, a podcast from Christ Church United Methodist. We would love if you would join us on a Sunday morning, whether that's at 9 a.m., 11:15 a.m., or you can find us live every Sunday morning at 11:15 a.m. at ccum.net/live.